I know a few of you just logging in. We're just coming to a comfortable seat. Taking a few deep inhales and longer exhales just to settle into whatever space you've decided to rest in. And maybe we take a moment actually to notice where we're connected. So if you are seated, maybe you're feeling shins, ankles, thighs, your seat. A few of you may find a seated position is not comfortable at all, and so perhaps you're resting on your back. So noticing the space of the back that's connected to the floor. Our theme really this month has been about finding yogic ways to regulate that central nervous system. And one of the most accessible ways is to notice where you're connected to the ground, to the floor, to the earth. That idea of simply noticing starts to bring some of that grounding sensation into the body. When we are grounded, we have a capacity to make good decisions, a capacity to really sort of sort through the monkey mind and calm it just a bit. An opportunity to tell our central nervous system we would like to make it more partial to that rest, relax, and restore. So with one more deep inhale, as you exhale, think about where you're connected. Noticing those spaces. We build then the rest of it from the bottom up. So paying attention here, just starting at that pelvic floor and recognizing as you inhale that you might grow a little bit longer and taller through the strength of that spine. As you're exhaling, maybe we bring some ease into shoulders, weight into arms, settling into the seat. If you're resting on your back, you can think about that happening from the front of the heart space to the back of the heart space, from the belly to the back of the spine. So inhaling, drawing that strength up through that seat, through that connection through the spine. And as we exhale, we let things ease away from the top of the head or the front of the body. One more breath with that in mind. Inhaling longer and stronger and taller through the spine. Exhaling into ease away from ears, shoulders, arms heavy, torso settling in to the seat. And then noticing what might be present for you right now, what might be arising in your thought process, what might be arising in regards to the physical body. Is there sensation that's calling your notice? And if we can, we notice with compassion for ourselves. We try not to have that conversation about the whys and the hows. Conversation hopefully is just that it is and that we're noticing. We try to experience these sensations, emotions, thoughts as really messengers. The messengers encouraging us to explore a little bit further if necessary, or maybe it's a messenger to create change. That could be a sensation in the body that's asking you to move in a different way. It may also be a messenger about how to be with discomfort. I really look at my yoga practice, my physical practice, my pranayama, my meditation is a skills building lesson in sometimes how to be with discomfort, how to hold that discomfort with curiosity, and with those same questions we would ask about sensation. Taking just a moment here without changing breath to notice your breath. To notice as you're inhaling where the breath may be traveling. What is the path that it's traveling along? And as you're exhaling, is there a sense of ease or release that might come with that exhale? It's possible that isn't present for you. And again, we invite ourselves in this continuing invitation to notice and to be with what is present. Inhaling into expansion, exhaling into release. This awareness of breath, another tool we use to ground and to center. If you have closed your eyes, with your next inhale, we're going to gently blink them open. We begin to maybe wiggle, stretch after that seated position. We are going to remain here for a warm up. So I encourage those of you who it's not as pleasant to be seated, that if you've got a pillow or if you happen to have yoga blocks available, you can have a seat on those. You also don't have to sit crisscross. You can sit with legs extended or knees slightly softened. So that's an option to get us a little bit out of that compression in the hips. If you are seated in crisscross, I'm going to invite you to change your crisscross. So you are seated probably in a way in crisscross that is very comfortable to you. We're going to ask you, or I'm going to ask you to change that up a little bit. It works our brain in some interesting ways. So as we find whatever seat works for us, we're going to begin these torso stirs. And as we're circling, we might get a lot of stuff involved. We might get the head, the neck. We might even use arms as we're doing this torso circle. If you're feeling like, oh, this is interesting and my back is not really loving this, you can do a side to side where you're just simply rocking side to side or forward. It gets a little more, it helps you stay a little more stable in the hip and the back. And if you are getting that message that, ooh, this is not the way I want to be today with my back, think about swaying side to side or right to left. We're going to go ahead and switch that circle. So we circle opposite direction. And just noticing breath here, pretty natural. Body tends to choose the breath in this one. It's not something we have to overthink, but it is worth noticing. Noticing that inhale and exhale. And then we'll come on back through center. And we're going to start this seated cat-cow. I'm going to turn sideways just so you can see my spine. But in this seated cat-cow, we're going to add in a few elements. So starting with your hands resting comfortably, we'll take an exhale. And as we do, we're going to draw that core in. That belly draws in, dropping the head, looking down at the legs. And then as we inhale, we might pull ourselves through, lifting the heart, lifting the chin, maybe, depending on your spine, looking up towards the ceiling. So we'll exhale to round. And inhale to open that heart, lift the chin, and look up. Let's do 3 more of those. Exhale, rounding. Inhale, looking up. 2 more. Exhale, maybe vigorously pulling that belly in. That invigorates that core. Inhale, we let the breath expand into the belly, inflating that belly. Last time we'll do it this way, rounding and inhaling. We're going to take what looks a bit like a dive. So I'm going to use my forehead, diving forward. I'm rounding my back. I lift my head, my chin, arch my back to press up. We're going to do 3 more of those. So I dive forward, exhaling as I do. Inhale, arch my back, lift my chin, and look up. Let's do 2 more. Exhale, diving forward. Inhaling up. We're getting some rhythm to the spine. We're getting a little movement through that entire spine. Last one we'll do in this direction. And we rise back up, and now we're going to change it. So I'm going to let my heart stay open As I come forward, more in a back bend, I nod my chin, use my hands to press through my thighs as I round my back to slowly restack my spine. So letting my chin lift, heart lead the way as I go forward, nod my chin, exhale, round to come all the way back up. Just 2 more of those. Exhaling forward. Sorry, inhaling forward. Switch the breath on you. And exhale to round back up. Last time. Allow yourself swan dive forward. Exhale to round back up. And just pausing to switch the cross of your legs. So we get to go back maybe to our preferred way. Other leg comes to the outside. Reaching fingertips, and fingertips are just barely hovering on the floor. We'll take one ear, I'm gonna start right side. We'll take our right ear to the right shoulder, and maybe I lengthen my fingers and lift them off the floor to increase that stretch. And rolling through the center, I come up to the other side and lift those opposite fingers, increasing the stretch. Just a few of these, rolling chin forward, only forward, please. That helps preserve those neck vertebrae. Reaching left fingertips as we find the shoulder towards the ear, and then one last time going over to the other side. And reaching those fingertips. We'll come on back through center, nodding the chin. We slowly let it lift up to look up. We're going to involve the arms in a bit of twisting through the spine now. So inhaling with palms up, we're going to reach all the way to the ceiling. As we exhale, twisting to the right, and the right on your screen is the lotus side of my room here on my wall. We'll inhale back through center and exhale, twist away from the lotus or twisting left. Inhaling through center and exhale, twist. So arms here, get a little bit of mobility. Inhale through center. We might even use our gaze to look through center. Exhale, twisting. One last set here. Inhale through center, arms reach, gaze looks. Exhale, twist. Inhale through center and exhale, twist. Coming back through center, inhaling, hands come to heart. I'm going to ask you to clasp those hands. Once you've clasped them, sending your knuckles straight out towards your screen, long arms. We're going to work those shoulder blades. So with those straight arms, I'm going to exhale to draw my shoulder blades back. And I push my arms forward as if I could touch my knuckles to my screen or across from you. So pulling back and pushing forward. These are those muscles that help us get in and out of our down dog, help support all of our standing poses when our arms are reaching. Let's do a couple more. Just pushing and pulling. And then when you're ready, we're going to let those hands travel behind you. So as they travel behind, I'm just coming to my fingertips and pressing through my heart. Now I soften elbows, looking straight ahead. Hands can be much wider to make this more comfortable. They can be closer to increase that opening through the heart center. Stretching through that whole chest area. A couple of breaths here. And then when you're ready, just releasing, drawing your arms around, nodding chin. Give yourself a quick little hug here to open up that space. We're going to be shifting to our knees. So when you're ready, rolling over those feet or swinging those feet around in order to shift to our knees. I'm going to ask you, once you're shifted to knees, just to tuck your toes as long as that doesn't bother your toe joints. If it does bother your toe joints, just keep those toes pointed. That tucking of the toes puts some deep pressure on the tips of those toes, which helps stimulate those 6 energy meridians in our feet. So palms are on, or fists if that bugs your wrists. We're going to do our tabletop cat-cow here. So when you're ready, press the mat away from you and really see if you can give it a good push away. Drop the head, stretch those shoulder blades. And then when you inhale, soften elbows just a little bit. So that softening the elbows is going to activate some arm muscle. We're going to exhale to press to round. Really pushing away. Inhale, softening elbows, letting belly drop, gaze comes forward. Just one more of those. Exhale, press, rounding. Inhale, letting that belly drop. We come back to our neutral space. So we're going to take our right foot. Our right foot is going to come forward. So as you bring that right foot forward, we'll stair stack up here so you get an opportunity to find some balance. It's that front foot. If it needs to walk over to the outside for better balance, let it walk to the outside of that mat. From here, we're going to take your opposite arm, so your left arm is going to lift up, and we're just going to lean in and out of that knee carefully. So we are getting some information. If you're feeling like that's a little too intense on that knee, just hold the pose instead of leaning. So we'll exhale to lean in. Inhale to come up. One more time. Exhale to lean in. Inhale to come up, dropping the arm that's in the air. It's going to come straight forward. This is a bit of a twist. We'll take that right hand. We twist to open up. So if, again, balance is feeling a little tricky, let that left hand place on your knee and give it a good push. That's a grounding move through the palm and the foot that helps stabilize some balance here. Otherwise, both arms reaching. Deep inhales and exhales. When you're ready, take both hands and frame the foot. We're going to walk that back leg a little further back. So we're in a deep, low lunge, just to stretch the front of that left thigh. And again, fully breathing here. You can always stack hands on knees if reaching the floor is a little tricky. There are maybe a few of you who have hands on the inside for a little deeper stretch. Inside, framing the foot, or on the knees are great places for those hands to be. We're going to give one more stretch here to our hamstrings. So we start to straighten that front leg. And we'll just let it lengthen to the space where we get sensation of stretching the back of the thigh. For some of us, that isn't straight, and that's okay. For some of us, it will be straight. There'll be a few of us who send your hips all the way back towards your heels. Opening up the space in the front and the back of the leg before we begin those standing poses to fire up those muscles. One more deep inhale. And I'm just going to ask you to swing that leg around so it joins the other leg in tabletop. And for a moment here, give your tail a wag. Just that stretch through that side body, a little reset of the hips perhaps. And then we're going to switch sides. So now it's that left foot that comes through. It might swing around. We're going to stair step up to the knee and maybe walk that foot out for a little bit more balance. We'll lift that opposite hand. So the right arm is going to reach up and we start to bend in and out of that front knee if that's appropriate today. If you're getting messengers from the knees that that's just not a good idea, then stay put in the pose and feel the stretch there. Do a couple more. And then we're going to pause. The arm in the air comes forward, right arm forward. I'm going to be turning away from you here. I'm going to spin to open up that front hand. If balance is a little tricky, can come to the knee to ground you just a little bit deeper and further to improve that balance. Really pressing through shin, top of the foot, and sole of the foot to maintain this balance. We'll swing those arms, come on back through center. Let those hands frame the front feet, come inside the feet, or they might stay on the knee. I'm going to take this back leg and walk it back just a little bit further. Pausing here to get a little bit of stretch through the front crease of that thigh, maybe the thigh itself. We might also be feeling it fairly intensely in the opposite leg, that foot that's forward. It's a hamstring stretch as well, or an inner thigh sensation. Lots of places we might be feeling this, and it's okay if none of those places are presenting for you right now. When you're ready, we're going to shift back to straighten that leg. So again, doesn't matter if it goes straight. We want that sensation of stretching the back of the thigh. Flexing toes if you get the leg straight, perhaps bringing your hip all the way back to your heel, if that makes sense for you. Deep inhales and exhales here, just breathing fully. One more breath. When you're ready, bend into that front knee, swing both knees back to join each other and go into your version of child's pose. So some of us might bring our hips all the way back to our heels, resting head. We might be on elbows and knees to round the back if knees don't agree to this today. Full deep inhales and exhales. Breathing perhaps into the side body. Think about sending breath into your side rib cage, both left and right, and perhaps sending breath all the way into the back side of the body. One more breath here. We'll rise up on elbows. And if you will, clasp your hands. Some of us might stay put here. Some of us might tuck toes and send the buns up towards the ceiling. We're in our dolphin. That upside down, releasing of the spine. If you have really tight hamstrings, soften your knees. That's going to really release a lot of that hamstring to allow you to have a longer spine. More concerned with this long spine than we are with straight legs. One more breath here. On your next exhale, we come on down. We'll rise up to tabletop. We're going to do a little thread the needle. So I'm going to start with my right arm reaching up, and then the right arm dives underneath, resting my ear or my cheek, my arm and shoulder. The opposite hand, so that left hand can reach to the top of your mat. You can also reach up towards the ceiling. It can slide behind the back. What makes sense for you here today? If you're working with neck injury or neck challenges, choosing that lower level is a little easier on the neck and kinder to the neck. Let's do one more breath here. We'll slide that hand, left hand to rest in front of the face. Our right arm's going to reach up towards the ceiling. We always give it a little wave, a little shake for those wrists. Planting the hand, we move to the other side. Left arm reaches. Diving underneath, so we're resting cheek and shoulder. The opposite hand can reach to the top of the mat, to the ceiling, or can slide behind the back. Protecting that neck and being kind to that neck, going with that arm reaching towards the front of the mat is a safe way to treat that neck in this particular pose. Big opener for stuff underneath your shoulder blade, going over your shoulder blade, maybe even a little bit of a twist through that spine. Last breath here. And we'll slide that hand. We're going to go ahead and come on out, give the ceiling a little wave. We'll plant the hands. I'm going to ask you to walk your hands pretty far away from you. We're getting ready for a down dog. Now, if down dog doesn't make sense for you today, you can go into child's pose or the first one we did where we were down on elbows. When you're ready, shifting into hips towards the ceiling. You might want to run the dog today. You might bend one knee and then the other. Rolling shoulders away from your ears while you put the pressure through the thumb and index finger. So we have two rotations through arm bones here. One is spiraling in towards the thumb, one is spiraling out, so shoulders melt away. This longer hold meant to help rebalance those centers along the spine, those chakras. One last breath here. This next part doesn't have to be fancy. You can hop, step, walk, or jump. Bring your feet closer to your hands so you're in that forward fold. Nodding the head, yes, and shaking the head, no. We're going to use an exhale here to restack our spine. So slowly, letting those arms dangle, we begin to restack one vertebrae at a time with an exhale to protect that back. Coming into our standing position, maybe give those shoulders a little wiggle. I'm gonna step back just a little bit here for myself. We're gonna give ourselves 3 fingers between the toes. Rocking forward and back to find that surface of the foot. And maybe wiggling inside and out. We're looking for our mountain pose here. If it's part of your practice to bring your big toes together for your mountain pose, I want to encourage you to do that. Letting then the feet land. Noticing if you locked out knees. Can you micro soften those knees? And then awareness of how that might change what's happening in the pelvis. On your next exhale, see if you can draw that belly in just a little deeper and closer to the spine, invigorating that core. We draw shoulders up, press back and down. Palms can face thighs or forward. Chin is parallel to the floor. A very strong mountain pose. Returning to this idea while we're standing of what is connected to the floor. Now, for some of us, we might simply name feet. For some of us, we might go a little bit deeper and go, I can feel my big toe connected. I can feel the top of my second toe connected. Down to the details of what's connected is what continues to ground us. It's a great practice if you are standing in lines lately, if you are out and about and trying to maintain some calm in a bit of a world that might be a little less calm right now. Just pausing to notice your feet connected to the earth, that sensation through the entire sole of the foot is a way to stay grounded. One more breath here. When you're ready, bringing hands to heart, we're going to move through our half lift sun salutation. So we'll inhale to reach fingertips, maybe a back bend here. We have warmed that back up, so you might find yourself a mid-back bend. Arms reach wide as we dive forward. Placing hands where it makes sense, shins or thighs. Inhale into that flat back. As we exhale, we try to release just a little bit deeper, looking through those legs. Inhale, arms reach wide. I'm going to press through the outer edges of my feet to ground me. And then I exhale, hands come to heart. 4 more times. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soft bent knees to protect back, or maybe swan dive is part of your practice. Pressing into shins or thighs, into that flat back. Exhale, releasing, keeping those knees soft to protect the back. Arms reach wide as we inhale. We rise back up. Exhale, hands come to heart. Inhale, fingertips reach. Moving with our breath here, exhaling. Placing hands, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down, look through those legs. Arms reach wide as we inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands come to heart 2 more times. Inhale, fingertips reach, maybe a tiny back bend. Exhale, soft bent knees or swan dive. Inhale, press into shins or thighs, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down, arms reach wide as we inhale, rise back up. Exhale, hands come to heart last time. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soft bent knees. We reach wide with those arms, placing hands on shins or thighs. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down. Arms reach wide as we inhale to rise back up. Exhale, hands come to heart. We're going to take a big step back with your right leg, the leg that is closest to the lotus wall. So big step back. I'm going to move around a little bit here to find my space. Remember that front foot rules the balance, so it can sneak wider. My hips for now are going to open up. So rather than having them face forward to the front of the knee, they're going to open up to match each knee. Opening arms into your first warrior 2. So if you find as you're in your warrior 2 that your knee is beyond your ankle, this back leg can probably go a little further back. Tucking tailbone, gazing over front fingertips, engaging that core. This is one of those spots we think about. What feels like we're strongest here? If I were to draw my heels closer to each other, does that strengthen my legs? If I were to send my toes from front to back, does that feel like it strengthens my legs? Inhale and exhale. One more breath. On your next exhale, we're going to take that front elbow. It comes down to the leg, back arm, lots of choices. Behind the back, reaching to the back of the room, up towards the ceiling, or up and overhead. If it is up and overhead, we take that shoulder to draw it down and away from the ear. Our side angle here. Pressing some weight in the back foot. That grounding sensation, but also shifting a little bit of that focus towards the back body. All our energy is going forward right now. So we want to pay attention to the back as well. We'll take top hand and slide it behind your back for everybody. We'll straighten front leg. I'm going to lift up just a little bit, and then I'm going to decide if I want to go lower for my triangle. So I'm trying to spiral that top shoulder towards the ceiling. Some of you may gaze at the ceiling. You might look at the floor if this feels like a lot of tension through that neck. Then we change the arm in any way you would like to, or we leave it exactly where it is for our triangle pose. Fully breathing here. When you're ready, bend into your front knee, back to your warrior two. We're going to shift hips now forward. Pausing here with hands at hips, and then sliding hands behind back. So I might be holding onto fingers, wrists, or elbows, and just squeezing shoulders and elbows towards each other to open that heart space. That shoulder opener. We are going to go through a flow today, and so I always like to offer this option. You don't have to go through a flow. That's where we're in down dog, up dog, and our plank or chaturanga. You might prefer simply to hold one of those spaces or to go into child's pose. So know that those are options. We're going to take our hands. We'll let them slide down to frame that front foot. We're going to step back and find plank. Once you're in plank, you decide if you want to go down to knees. We'll lower down to the earth. Inhale into low cobra or up dog with shoulders nice and open. On your next exhale, press back into your down dog. 5 breaths here, which could also be child's pose. You could be down on elbows. You could be in that puppy or quarter dog. Lots of spaces to be. Soft knees, heart pressing towards the thighs. Deep inhale and exhale. When you're ready, that opposite foot's going to come forward. So now we're going to bring that right foot forward so our left foot is back. Right foot forward so our left foot is back. I'm going to turn around here so you can see me. I'm going to cartwheel up into my warrior two. Maybe I'm bending in and out of that front knee to get that information. Remember, if that knee is beyond, you might be able to go a little further back. Once you're settled in, giving your gaze over to the front of the fingers, those front fingers, I should say, tucking your tailbone, drawing that belly in just a little bit deeper, supporting the entire spine and the legs with that belly drawing in. Maybe we think about heels coming closer. Does that feel stronger? Maybe we think about spreading our mat from front to back. Does that feel stronger for you? Fully breathing and noticing if you're holding breath, you can always take it back a notch. Usually the first thing we do is lower arms to make it less intense. We're going to take that front elbow. It comes down to that thigh. Lots of choices with the back hand. Behind the back, reaching to the back of the room, up towards the ceiling, or up and over. And we're careful here not to just hang out in that shoulder. I'm actually trying to push my elbow in, just as we pushed our palms into the mat to push ourselves away from it. I'm pushing my elbow in, and then I'm lengthening through my fingers all the way through that back ankle, that noticing of the weight in the back of the ankle. When you're ready, slide that top hand behind no matter where you're at. We start to straighten our front leg. I'm going to come up just a little bit, getting my shoulders stacked. Then I decide if I want to go a little bit deeper for my triangle. I also decide where I'd like to put that arm. Same choices here. It can be behind the back, to the back of the room, up towards the ceiling. You might even have it up and overhead. Gaze is where it makes sense. So this is one of those spaces where we tend to create more tension in our neck. So if we could release it, where would we put that head? What is the space that makes sense for you? One more breath here. We'll bend into the front knee, bringing hands to hips. We're going to square those hips to the front leg. So we start to twist. If you need to shift that back foot, you can. You're going to see me on this side shift a little bit to the ball of my foot to protect a hip injury. So pausing here. Last time we had hands behind back. This time we're going to go into our cactus arms. So same idea as when we had our hands behind our back. I'm squeezing shoulder blades and elbows, but trying not to overarch through that belly area and back area. So I actually have a little bit of a tailbone tuck here, like I'm a puppy that got in trouble. Fully breathing, inhaling and exhaling. When you're ready, we go through our flow, or we go into child's pose, or we hold any one of these. We'll plant the foot, step back into our plank. You might go down full plank. You might lower knees. Inhale into low cobra or up dog. Exhale, pressing back into our down dog. 5 full breaths here. Inhaling and exhaling. Noticing the weight in the thumb and index finger. We're rotating shoulders away from ears. Core is drawing in. Knees might be soft. One more breath. On your next exhale, we'll either step, hop, walk, or jump, getting those feet between the hands. When you're ready, we're going to use an inhale and wide arms to rise up. So we'll inhale to rise up. We'll reach fingertips up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come to heart. Taking a moment to let those hands come down, either facing forward or your thighs. And notice a pause here, back in our mountain pose. Noticing the soles of the feet, the strength of those lower legs, the soft knees, those long, strong thighs, a relaxed pelvis, the buns trying to let go of any squeezing or tension. We inhale through that long spine. Exhale, letting shoulders and arms be heavy as they melt away from the ears. Eyes open or closed for the next 4 breaths, just noticing what's present for you right now. If your eyes are closed on your next inhale, just gently blinking those eyes open. We are moving into our tree balance. So if you like to hang on to a wall, a couch, chair, whatever might be available, I would invite you to grab hold of that. I feel more centered with hands at heart. You might feel more centered and more balanced with arms out in some other way. So when you're ready, we're going to shift weight to your right side. The left knee rotates out. There's lots of places to go here. We might find a balance challenge with our toes already on, and I'm already feeling it. You might see that you can bring those toes off, or perhaps place the sole of the foot on your shin or calf. You might be able to bring the sole of the foot up towards your thigh, and just being careful here that you're pushing your thigh into the sole of your foot rather than the sole of your foot pushing into your thighs and your hips out of alignment. No matter where you've chosen to be, we're going to challenge it just a little bit more by shifting arms. So maybe arms reach, maybe your branches sway. If you're still feeling very solidly balanced, lower your gaze or your lids. And that's usually the one that sends me out of balance. We don't want to be in perfect balance. That's no fun. We have an opportunity to get a little wiggly and then maybe fall out of balance. We'll go ahead, if you haven't, brought both feet back to the floor, both feet to the floor, feeling the surface of each foot. Soften knees. This time we're going to shift to your left. The right knee rotates out, finding the space that makes sense for you. Toes on, toes lifted, foot on the calf, foot on the thigh. Each side will be different, and that's very much to be expected. So just noticing how this side is feeling compared to the other. And then we'll challenge that balance in some way. Arms reach, maybe arms sway, maybe gaze lowers in order to come out of balance. Once you are back on both feet, take a moment to bring your toes closer together. And I'm going to say about 2 fingers width. If you just look down, you've got 2 fingers between those big toe mounds. So we're going to keep both soles of the feet on the floor. But what we're going to change now is our vision. So we want to think, if we can, that we're balancing from our belly. So maybe 3 fingers below that belly button, focusing your attention on that particular area. With feet fully on and knees softened, if it's comfortable to you to close the eyes, allow the eyes to close. If that's not comfortable, we at least try to lower our lids a bit to take away some visual information. And sometimes we get the immediate feedback of, holy cow, I need to open my eyes. So that's the message you're getting. Allow yourself to have that soft, unfocused gaze with lids slightly lowered. If you've gotten the eyes closed and you want to challenge that balance just a little bit more, we just start to shift weight from side to side. So not lifting feet. And this can happen too if your eyes are open. We're just shifting weight side to side. When we take away visual information, we have to rely on this internal information to lead us in our balance. If your eyes are closed, we're going to open our eyes. Hands come to heart. We go through our tree one more time. We're going to shift weight to the right foot. Left leg opens up to a space that makes sense for you. Allowing yourself to challenge that balance, maybe with a changing of the arms, a swaying, or perhaps we close the eyes. When you're back to both feet on the floor, 2 fingers width between those big toes, hands to heart or wherever it feels centering for you. We'll shift over to that left foot, right foot rotates out. We get some information about where we want to take our balance. Arms might reach, they might sway. We might close our eyes. Once you've shifted and have both feet on the floor, let yourself plant both feet, soft knees. One more opportunity here, just to notice in a standing pose, how are you feeling? So coming to that mountain pose in a place where your palms feel comfortable, soft knees, relaxed pelvis, shoulders melting away from the ears. 3 breaths here just to notice what's present for you now. When you're ready, we're going to come to a seated position on the floor. And we're gonna do a little bit of balance here, and then we're gonna shift to open up hips, and then we'll go into our relaxation. So finding a comfortable seat. We're gonna bring hands behind the thighs, and we think about that long, tall spine. Remember, beginning of class, when we're inhaling, we're breathing from our seat through the top of that spine. Think about how that helped us grow a little bit longer and taller. So my folks working with any back stuff today, please stay put here. It's a more supported position, and you'll get that strength through the spine without that challenge in that low back. If it makes sense for you to bring one foot up and then the other, we'll bring those shins parallel to the floor. The gentlemen in the crowd, you're gonna keep your heels just a little bit lower. You're balancing on a little less real estate in that pelvis than we are as women. So it's a little more helpful to have heels lower than try to bring shins up. For those of you who want to challenge that core just a little bit more, fingertips reach. And just breathing fully here and noticing this balance. One more breath. When you're ready, let's place those feet down. We're going to slowly start to roll to our back, allowing ourselves very gently just to draw knees into chest and give it a nice rock side to side. I'm going to ask you to take your right ankle. Right ankle is going to cross over the top of the left thigh. Some of us might need to put that foot on the floor in order to get it to cross. Some of us might be able to interlace fingers or hands behind that thigh to draw the knee in just a little bit deeper. A version of opening our IT band, this iliotibial band. We may also feel it in the hamstrings, the back of the thigh, that inner groin area. Pausing here with an exhale to draw in either deeper or to settle into the space that works for you. Using that exhale as a settling breath. One more deep inhale and exhale. And then we'll switch sides. So now it's the left ankle that crosses over. We might draw that knee in and use our exhale to release a little bit more into ease here. This is a stubborn area that doesn't always like to open up and release. The more we cue it with our breath, a longer exhale, the more we invite that area to release. One last deep inhale and exhale. We'll bring both feet to the floor and either knees drop out into butterfly, reclining bound angle, or feet walk wide and knees drop in, depending on what you want to open up here. So we may want to open up inner thighs with the knees dropping out. You may want to feel more relaxed in the pelvis and the outside of those hips. So we might draw knees together with feet wide. Just a few breaths here, picking where you'd like to be. And then we'll all stretch our legs long along the mat. So these hip openers are really meant to release some energy and eventually release some energy from this lower chakra area. That's why you see a lot more hip openers in this month's classes than we might typically do if I saw you in person. Let's take your right knee draws in. We're gonna hang on behind the thigh or the outside of the thigh, and we're simply just drawing that knee in a way that opens up the backside of the leg. Now, if drawing in and holding on has you lifting your head or straining through your neck, you might either want to let the knee travel further away or place a pillow from your couch or your yoga block underneath your head. We're trying to keep that neck released,
the head resting on the floor, allowing that upper body to remain at ease if possible. So this is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go into half a happy baby. Well, keep the knee in, and for some of us, this is our half a happy baby, but if you are able and your hip structure allows that foot to go up towards the ceiling, we slide that hand somewhere where we can hang on. So maybe it's behind the thigh, maybe it's mid-shin, maybe it's ankle, maybe it's the outside of the foot. So this half a happy baby, a deeper stretch for the back space of the leg, maybe a little release for the psoas. This opposite leg might also have some sensation of stretch or tension in the front of that thigh. With your next exhale, we stretch that leg long to join the other. Well, if you will, pause here for just a moment. So noticing how that right entire hip structure leg feels compared to the left. So maybe we just simply name it right thigh. How does it feel compared to the left thigh? Maybe there's sensation that's coming up in your awareness that you can notice or drawing your notice. It's just a few more breaths to notice similarities or differences between the right and the left. We go to the opposite side now. So left knee draws in, hanging on either its shin or behind the thigh, asking the head and shoulder area to relax or providing something for it to relax. Releasing here with that knee drawing in. These hip openers are really meant for many of us. We might be in uncomfortable seats all day long if we're working. We might be, if we're stuck in our house, just in the seat all day long. We're also energetically hoping to nourish this area. This is an area, especially in uncertain times, can feel really tight and really restricted because of the energy that we're holding there. That's the space of the chakras that are all about our survival and any threat to our survival or our tribe, and really how we feel about ourselves in that upper belly chakra. Let's shift into our half happy baby. Knee might stay in. We might be able to grab hold behind thigh, shin, or outside of that leg. And I know often you'll hear, oh, there's so much to be gained here. If when you get more flexible, you're going to be able to do this one. I like to think the opposite. We think about how the bones come together, and this was really how I was taught after my certification, about how are your bones put together, and is it even possible to achieve this? This bones hitting bones puts us in hard compression, and it's not a possibility. So we work with the body as it is and honor that. And trying to get somewhere with the goal of, oh, someday I'm going to be able to do that. That could be a worthy goal because that might work for your body, but it also is worth considering it might not work for the way that your bones are put together. We'll release the foot. We'll stretch the leg. We go back to that noticing again, noticing that left leg as compared to the right leg. Sensations that are similar or different. Sometimes it's simply a felt sense that is very intuitive, a knowing in the body that doesn't really have words. And that's okay to be with that felt sense as well. It might not have a description. We might not be able to describe it. We just know that it's there and that it has a feeling that doesn't necessarily have to have words. Bending both knees, we're going to place the soles of the feet on the floor. We're going to get ready for some twisting. And so what I'd like you to think here is knees stacked for this first series. And sometimes we go deeper into a twist. For today, we want to have a little bit less intensity through that twisting structure. We're going to be dropping knees to your right side. And if I can request, the knees are simply stacked, one on top of the other. Not too deep here. That twisted roots tends to be deeper, or even when we have one knee drawing in and drawing over. this gentle releasing of the hip structure and of the low back. While we're here, some nice deep inhales and some longer exhales. And inviting an ease with that exhale that spreads through the body if possible. And we think about that pretty methodically. As I breathe in, as I exhale, can I release my neck, my jaw, my face? Inhaling, exhaling, releasing the shoulders, the arms, the front space of the heart. Inhaling and exhaling to release the belly, the rib cage, maybe even that side hip area. One more inhale. As we exhale, we imagine a heaviness or a releasing or easing through the legs. And just pausing here to breathe normally, to rest a bit and relaxation, and to notice what might be arising. When you exhale next, we're going to bring those knees back through center. Give yourself a little wiggle if you need it. And then we drop those knees, stacked knees, one on top of the other, over to the left side. And a few nice deep inhales and longer exhales here. We move back through that scanning, noticing on our inhale, bringing awareness to the face, the neck, the jaw. As we exhale, can there be more ease brought to that area? Breathing into the space of the chest, the arms, the shoulders. As we exhale, releasing and easing tension away from the chest, the arms, and the shoulders. Inhale into the belly. Pardon me. As we exhale, noticing if there's more ease in the rib cage, belly, and maybe even outside hip area. And finally, inhaling, bringing awareness to the legs. Exhaling, inviting more ease into the legs. Breathing naturally and easily here for the next 4 breaths. When you're ready, we'll draw those knees back through center. And this time giving ourselves a little knee squeeze, knees in towards the chest, a little rocking side to side. We are going to be moving into final relaxation here for our next 15 minutes. We're going to do a body scan today, and then we'll move into pranayama. And I recognize some of you may need to log off. If you can, give yourself a few minutes here resting and relaxation before you log off. For those of you who'd like to remain with me, we are going to find a space that feels comfortable to you. And as you know, at the end of my classes, the invitation is really to find any space. It doesn't have to look like a yoga shape. It can be any space where you feel more ease in the body. And like me, you might have cooled down, so you may want to grab sweatshirts or socks or blankets to cover up. This opportunity to find the most ease in this moment. What is that space for you? We're going to be walking through what really is a guided relaxation, and it's a body scan or a body sensing
exercise. And the idea behind this is that we're really inspiring a relaxation and relax restore response in the body with this body scan. And so today, because it's the morning, normally in a body scan, I would leave you to relax, but for many of us, we have more things to do today. So I'll bring you back out of the body scan or the body sensing. We'll do a very short breath work practice, and then we'll finish our practice for the day. So taking the deep inhale and maybe that longer exhale, settling into the weight of the body where it's connected to your mat and noticing those spaces, getting grounded through that, noticing that deep inhale, exhale, settling into the weight of the spaces where you're connected. For our body scan, just allowing your awareness or your notice to follow the sound of my voice as we move through the body, noticing or noting each space. And we begin by noticing the head, bringing awareness to the mouth, the teeth, the gums, the lips, noticing the tongue and the back of the throat. Tracing awareness out to the ears, noticing any sounds your ears may be hearing, the curves of the outside ear along with the earlobes, noticing the middle and inner ears. Tracing awareness to the nose, noticing the in and out breath through the nose. Awareness to the eyes, the eyelids, the eyelashes, the curved surface of the eyes, the center of the eyes, the backs of the eyes. Maybe even noticing the space behind the eyes. Bringing awareness to the space between the brows and the forehead, the top of the head, and the back of the head. Letting your notice travel down the back of the neck, to the sides of the neck, the front of the neck. Noticing the notch of the collarbones, the left collarbone and left shoulder joint. The left arm from the upper arm, the elbow, the forearm, wrist, palm, and fingers. Letting awareness travel back up the left arm across the collarbone to the right collarbone and shoulder joint. Noticing the right arm from the upper arm, elbow, forearm, wrist, palm, and fingers. Drawing awareness up the right arm and through the collarbone to the space of the front of the heart, to the bottom of the rib cage, belly, and front of the pelvis. Letting awareness travel to the back of the torso, to the shoulder blades, to the space of the back of the heart, the back bottom rib cage, the low back, backside of the pelvis. Bringing awareness to the left leg, beginning with that left hip joint, the left thigh, knee, shin and calf, the ankle, the sole of the foot, and the toes. Drawing that awareness back up the left leg, across the left hip joint and pelvis, to the right hip joint, to the right thigh, the knee, the shin, calf, ankle, sole of the foot, and toes. And for a moment, we bring awareness back to the space of the front of the heart. And from the front of the heart radiates a sense of well-being and ease. Well-being radiating from the heart through the head, sense of ease radiating through the arms, well-being and ease radiating through the front and back of the torso, all the way down through the legs. This sense of ease and well-being radiating through the entire body, the entire body. And resting here a moment in that sense of well-being and ease. Bringing your awareness back to the sound of my voice. Awareness back to the space that you're resting in. Beginning to take deeper inhales and longer exhales. And then maybe we begin to reawaken the body, wiggling fingers and toes, circling wrists and ankles. It might feel good to stretch arms overhead. It might feel good to draw knees into chest. In your own way and your own time, we're going to begin to bring ourselves up into a seated position that feels comfortable to you. So take your time. Be kind to that body as you begin to roll out and come up into that comfortable seat. So today we're going to do a 3-part breath. And the idea is that we're breathing the inhale from the bottom up. And that may resonate with you and it may not. So I always encourage people, if that feels strange to you, switch it. You go from the top down, and I'll explain what that means here in just a moment. So as you're resting here in your comfortable seat, this idea is that we're inhaling all the way from the pelvic floor. You might even imagine the feet up through the spine. And it travels all the way out through the top of the head. And then as we exhale, we let the exhale settle in from the top of the head and travel back down the spine. And what I mentioned earlier is you might feel like it needs to go the opposite direction, like you need to inhale from the top to the bottom. One's going to feel really interesting and the other one typically feels very natural. And so you can play with that. when we inhale from the bottom up, we're bringing our energy up, we're bringing our life force energy up. Sometimes we need to bring energy from the outside, and that might be when we're breathing from the top down. So I'm going to instruct you through bottom up, and we'll do a few breaths on our own and finish class. But again, switch it if it makes sense for you. So just a nice clearing breath, a deep inhale and an exhale. With your next inhale, we imagine that we're drawing from the base of our spine, that inhale all the way up through the top of the head. And as we exhale, letting the exhale settle from the top of the head all the way down through the spine to the base of that spine, or maybe even through the legs. Let's do that 2 more times together. Inhaling up through the spine. Exhaling from the top down. Pardon me. One more time. Inhaling from the base up. Exhaling from the top down. Let's do 3 more breaths on your own, at your own pace. As you finish off that last breath, just that clearing breath, a nice deep inhale, that longer exhale. And pausing here for just a moment to notice, how are you feeling? How are you feeling in the physical body? Perhaps how are you feeling in the emotional and mental bodies? And if this gesture feels okay to you, we'll bring palms together, resting thumbs right in front of your heart. May all be well. May all have peace. And may we all be filled with compassion and loving kindness. The light in me is honored and grateful for the light in each of you. I bow to you. Namaste.